Every NHL team hopes to win the Stanley Cup, but since there's only one champion at the end of every season, the majority of teams will lose. In the NHL, there are many different ways for a club to suffer heartbreak, including losing a Game 7, disagreeing with a call, and getting swept by a rival. We'll look at some of the most heartbreaking ways for an NHL club to lose in this video, along with the effects it can have on the players and their fans. The first instance is when a team struggles to hold onto a lead and gives up a goal during the final seconds of a game. One of the most discouraging ways to lose an NHL game is to concede a late goal. It indicates that a team struggled to maintain a lead and that the victorious team could take advantage of an error or lapse in the other team's defense. For the losing team, conceding a late goal can be particularly upsetting because they may have performed well for most of the game, only to see it slip away in the dying seconds. The Stanley Cup final between the Colorado Avalanche and the New Jersey Devils in 2001 include one of the most well-known instances of a team conceding a goal late. Less than 2 minutes remained in Game 7 when the Avalanche had a 3-2 lead. On the other hand, Patrick Elias of the Devils tied the score with 1:45 remaining in regulation. He went on to win it in overtime. The defeat was heartbreaking for the Avalanche and their supporters because they had been so close to bringing home the cup. High-stress scenarios when a team can lose a game with just one error come in second. Losing in a shootout or overtime might be upsetting when a club could win in the regular season. Losing in a shootout can be particularly difficult since it seems as though luck or chance, rather than skill, determined the result of the game. Both overtime and shootouts are high-stress scenarios in which one error can lose a side the match. In the 2014 Olympic gold medal game, Canada defeated the United States, serving as an example of a team losing in a shootout. TJ Oshie of Canada scored 4 shootout goals to give the Americans a chance to win. Following regulation and overtime, the score remained knotted at 2-2, and a shootout was used to determine the winner. Still, Jonathan Toews of Canada scored the decisive goal in the 8th round of the shootout. The defeat was sad for the USA, who had come so close to taking home the gold. Number 3 is being completely outplayed and unable to keep up with the opposition. A team's embarrassment and the player's morale may be particularly impacted by a rout loss. It denotes that a team was outplayed in every area of the game and unable to compete with their adversary. A team's confidence may be damaged, and their ability to recover in subsequent games may be hampered by a crushing defeat. In the 2019 playoffs, the Tampa Bay Lightning were swept by the Columbus Blue Jackets in the first round. One instance of a team losing by a landslide. The Lightning were strong favorites to win the Cup and had tied the NHL record for victories in a season when the Blue Jackets defeated them in a 4-game series. The defeat was shocking for the Lightning and their supporters, who had great hopes for the squad. The fourth scenario is when a team loses due to a missed penalty or rule interpretation. It can be upsetting for a team to lose on a contentious call because it appears like something beyond their control determined the game's result. A missed penalty or applying a regulation subject to interpretation are just 2 examples of the many scenarios that might result in contentious calls. Whatever the reason, a team that loses due to a contentious call may feel bitter about the experience. Playoff games with higher stakes can be particularly irritating due to a contentious call. A contentious no call in Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Final between the Boston Bruins and St. Louis Blues led to the St. Louis Blues winning the Stanley Cup in the 2019 postseason. The Blues' Tyler Bozak seemed to trip the Bruins' Noel Acciari in the 3rd period while the score was tied 2-2, but no penalty was assessed. The Blues finally won the match and the Cup after scoring in the subsequent play. The Bruins and their supporters who believed that the contentious no call lost them the match and the Cup were extremely critical of it. The most intense and stressful game, where everything is on the line and a loss spells the end of the season, comes in at number 5. One of the worst ways to lose in the NHL is by losing a Game 7. With everything on the line, Game 7s of postseason series are frequently the most intense and stressful games. If a team loses a Game 7, their season ends, and they cannot move on to the next round or win the Cup. One of the most well-known instances of a club dropping a Game 7 occurred in the 2013 postseason when the Toronto Maple Leafs lost a 4-1 lead against the Boston Bruins in the 3rd period of the game. In the closing 10 minutes of regulation, the Bruins scored 3 goals to tie the game, which they later won in overtime. The Maple Leafs had not won a postseason series since 2004. Thus, the defeat was heartbreaking for both the team and its supporters. Losing to a tough opponent at number 6 can seem extremely humiliating, especially if it affects standings and playoff seeding. A team's and its supporters' grief might be increased when they lose to a competitor. In the NHL, rivalries are frequently stoked by location, history, and fierce competition. As a result, losing to an opponent can seem particularly humiliating. Due to the fact that games versus rivals frequently have a higher impact on standings and playoff seeding, losing to a rival can also have an effect on the playoffs. The Pittsburgh Penguins were swept by the Philadelphia Flyers during the first round of the 2018 playoffs, which is one instance of a team losing to a rival. Because of the intense rivalry between the Penguins and Flyers, Porter's loss was particularly painful. The Penguins were expected to make another strong postseason run after winning the previous 2 Stanley Cups, so the defeat was also unexpected. The squad was so close to winning the cup or progressing to the next round that the defeat was at number 7. It can be especially challenging to accept a series loss after leading a game. Teams that are in the lead in a series frequently think they are winning, only to watch their advantage disappear as the game goes on. This kind of defeat can be especially upsetting because the team was so close to winning the cup or moving on to the next round, but was unable to complete the feat. In the 2019 playoffs, the Tampa Bay Lightning were swept by the Columbus Blue Jackets in the first round, which is an example of this kind of loss. The Lightning were the clear favorites to win the cup after dominating the regular season and tying the NHL record with 62 victories. Unfortunately, they were defeated in the opening round after dropping all 4 of their games against the Blue Jackets. Loss as a result of injury is 8th. It can be difficult to accept losing a game or series due to important injuries, yet injuries can play a significant role in a team's success or failure. A team's depth, cohesion, and general performance can all be affected by injuries, and losing a game or series as a result can be especially upsetting because it seems like the squad didn't get a fair shot to compete at full strength. The San Jose Sharks' defeat to the St. Louis Blues during the Western Conference Final in the 2019 postseason is an illustration of this kind of setback. The injuries suffered by the Sharks, particularly those to captain Joe Pavelski and other important players, played a significant role in their defeat against the Blues. Number 9 is losing due to a lack of effort. Last but not least, losing because of a lack of effort can be extremely upsetting for spectators and teammates. It can be difficult to accept losing a game or series because a team didn't put forth its best effort, because hockey is a sport that demands a high level of focus and effort. It can appear that the team fell short of its potential and disappointed its supporters. The Calgary Flames were eliminated by the Colorado Avalanche in the first round of the 2019 playoffs as an illustration of this kind of loss. The Flames were the clear favorites to win the series, but the Avalanche outplayed them because they seemed to be giving less effort and intensity than usual. In spite of the hurt and sadness that come along with losing, it's critical for teams to take lessons from their failures and use them as inspiration to improve and be more effective in the long run. In many situations, a team's loss can act as a wake-up call, motivating players and coaches to make the required adjustments and improvements. Teams may strengthen their resiliency and ability to bear the difficulties that come with competing in the NHL by responding to defeats in a positive way. In the end, both winning and losing are essential components of sports. And while it's never fun to lose, it's a fact of life that every team must deal with occasionally. Teams can ultimately become stronger, more effective, and more resilient in the face of adversity by keeping a positive outlook and viewing setbacks as chances for growth and improvement. What do you think? Let us know your views in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons to stay tuned to our channel for more such incredible videos. Thank you for watching.